everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm planning with this Miss and Meow kit Merlot. Got the deco here, the first page. It's kind of a fall-y, winey kit, obviously Merlot being a red wine. It's got a bit of light blue in it, it's got a bit of pink in it, of course, and with her new kit reformat we've got a lot of boxes. There's the washi, so let's get into it. So I'm going to be doing a slightly different Plan With Me voiceover this week. I saw on Lauren on Plan Wash Plan Stories that she was like, you know, Plan With Me's are great when you do kind of get to know you and you really connect with your audience. And I have been wondering, you know, a little bit more about how to, you know, connect with folks. I don't share a ton about my life, and I'll talk about why that is in a second, but I think I'm going to do a little bit more of a kind of getting to know me style, sharing what I can. And yeah, you all let me know what you think. I have some new subscribers, so I would love to hear what you think of the kind of new format. The reason that I don't share a ton about my work life, at least, is that I work in tech. I work in Silicon Valley. And a lot of what I work on is, you know, pretty confidential, and even sort of the environment that I work in and the kinds of things that I deal with on a daily basis, I feel like are pretty confidential. You know, tech companies are fairly serious about their NDAs, so that's the reason why I don't share a ton about my work life. But obviously, you know, I could share about my personal life and a little bit more about me. So I'm going to be answering a few about me questions today, and if I don't get to the ones that I have planned, I'll answer them in the next one. And yeah, the first question is, what's your favorite way to spend a day off? And you know, that's a good question. I think I have kind of two modes. So either an active mode or a kind of lazier mode. I like both equally. I like to spend, you know, a more active day off doing things outside. So I live in the Bay Area, and my boyfriend is from Marin, which is kind of northern to the Bay Area. I think it still counts as Bay Area. Some of the things we really like to do are going hiking outside. In fact, I think our second date was, or not second, probably our third date was a hike. So on a more active day, I like to go out hiking in the redwoods, or we might go for a really, really long walk somewhere. There's a lot of like nice rolling hills where I live and a lot of outdoor spaces. I mean, I would say in general, California is pretty outdoor space friendly. So even if it's not like a true hike, like in the legitimate woods, and by legitimate woods, I mean, there's a lot of trees. It's like an actual kind of forest. There's a lot of like nice long walks that we can take. So on a day off, I would probably do a hike or a walk with him. We haven't really been eating out very much. Well, I mean, going to restaurants, that is, and sitting down because of, you know, pandemic. Even though we're both vaccinated, I think his parents are a little bit elderly, so we're trying to be, you know, as careful as possible and really limiting that. But we have gotten into like car dates. I don't know how you all feel about this. You know, again, pre-pandemic, it feels like it's much more common now. But a car date is like, we are gonna go get some food, sit in the car, and like pretend that it's kind of a real date, as if we were going out to a restaurant. So what he'll do, and this stuff is really cute, he will dress up to what he thinks is dressing up, which is he'll put on a collared shirt and a nice watch. He's pretty into watches, so he'll put on a nice watch. That's how I know that he's dressed up for like a date. I, of course, will also try to dress up, you know, to match him. I might put on a dress depending on how warm it is. I'll wear my contacts, gasp, because I normally wear glasses. I actually might put up a picture of us so that you all can see what we look like. We're your typical Silicon Valley nerds, but I'll take my glasses off, put on my contacts. He will open the door for me to kind of make it like a date. And, you know, most of the time we're usually laughing really hard by this point because it just feels so formal and just like not at all, you know, our style. We're very chill. more often than not, we will go to one of our favorite places to eat and have quote unquote car dates together, which is In-N-Out. And In-N-Out is a California staple. If you don't know it, it's a burger place. They've got amazing burgers. People don't like their fries. I love their fries. People don't like their fries because they say there's not enough salt. I don't like my fries salted way too much. So that's why I like their fries. Could they have a little more salt? Sure, but they'll give you some salt packets. McDonald's fries are obviously #1 fries far and away, but I'd say In-N-Outs are pretty good, and their milkshakes are to die for. So we'll go on this little car date, and during the date, we'll, talk about topics that are not like kind of our daily goings on. So we won't talk about work. That's the rule. We won't talk about any kind of family drama or friend drama. We'll just kind of talk about, date topics, how you would talk to someone if you were going on early dating phase. It's actually really nice. On one of these car dates, I was telling him, I've been trying to meditate, keep a consistent meditation practice, and it's, difficult for me. And he was telling me, this kind of story about this Buddhist monk who I said it was difficult for me and I'm doing it wrong. And he kind of told me this story about this Buddhist monk basically who had this beautiful cup and told himself every day that the cup would break, and that the cup eventually broke, and he was like, okay, now I'm gonna begin. And basically the whole point of the story, which I retold very badly just now, was that, you've got to kind of accept life and accept and, do the best that you can. And it was, one of these car dates, I was just like, wow, that was really, I don't know. Again, I'm retelling the story very poorly, but I just felt like it was so profound. And so we have a good time on these car dates. So yeah, a hike and a date, a car date with some delicious, yummy food. It doesn't have to be In-N-Out, but I love In-N-Out. That's a more active day. A very lazy day would be kind of a day to myself. And that is in my apartment. And I would just be, kind of throw myself a little spa day, give myself a little pedicure. You all know I do my own nails at home. I'm really into the Kiara Sky soft jelly tips right now. So I probably give myself a manicure and or replace my tips. And do a face mask, have a bath, have a nap, order in some food. Like that would be, a really relaxing day off. That took a long time to answer that first question. So the second one is, what type of music are you into? And I listen to just about everything, and I'm kind of ashamed to say this, I don't know why, but honestly, 90s alternative is my go-to. So yes, I am a child of the 90s, and maybe we all just go to the musical eras that we're most familiar with, but 90s alternative is really what I was listening to during my formative years. And so, whenever there's a lull and I don't have any new music to listen to, like that's what I'll go back to. I always tell people, if you want me to participate in trivia, I am your 90s alternative girl. I can name any song, anything, like I'm just, So in terms of bands, obviously Incubus is a big fan of mine. I also love Brandon Boyd. I consider that where my, love of men with long hair, longish hair started. But also 311, Nirvana, Foo Fighters, which is kind of a little bit more on the tail end of the 90s, early 2000s. Like, I just love those bands. That's my jam. Other than that, I do listen to rap, hip hop, whatever you want to call it. I also listen to soca and dancehall. Those are two kind of music sort of genres that I grew up listening to. It's from, primarily based in Caribbean countries, and my parents being from the Caribbean, I got a lot of exposure to that. Coming back around to the 90s, also 90s funk. So my parents were immigrants, I've said this a bunch of times, to the United States in the late 80s, early 90s. And so they were super into like American music and 90s funk, think like Kool and the Gang. So occasionally I will go on a little bit of a bender listening to that. As to what I've been listening to most recently, I know he's fairly controversial, and I blame my brother-in-law for starting this, but I've been listening to Donda. That album came out on my birthday, and I was visiting my sister and brother-in-law in Chicago, and my brother-in-law is a huge Kanye fan, so we had to listen to it. And unfortunately, some of those songs I got a bug in my ear about them, so I have been listening to Donda. So the next question is, what are your hobbies and how did you get into them? Well, obviously planning is a hobby of mine. And I think I told the story of how I got into planning, but I'll give it in a few bullet points again. So I've always been a quote unquote planner. Meaning I always wrote down what I planned to do. I don't know if I always kept a daily schedule, but always kind of had a monthly or weekly plan of what I'm going to do written down somewhere, starting pretty much in middle school, high school, all the way through college. My college, I went to UNC undergrad, that's University of North Carolina. And there were a ton of requirements that were changing when I started. So I used to, obsessively plan what class am I going to take. I double majored and minored at UNC. So I had to kind of juggle what all classes kind of satisfied two of my requirements here and there. I know, huge overachiever. That's a discussion for another video, another day. But I've always been a planner. But I didn't really know about the quote unquote planning world, like capital T, P, W, until probably November, December of 2019. One of my dear friends, Samantha, told me she was buying a new Erin Condren. And I didn't know who Erin Condren was, what, the brand of planner was. I didn't even know that there was a world out there where people talked about and did this. And so she shared with me what she was gonna buy, and I'd say, I fell headlong into an abyss of planning virtually. I mean, it just, I don't want to say it took over my life, but it was just like, what? Oh my gosh. So we all know what happened with EC, but I was there, with the planner until the debacle. Since then, I haven't used any of my EC products or anything like that. But I started off with Planner Kate and kind of doing a true, daily plan that was like putting my meetings on there. It was really hard for me because, as I just mentioned in the beginning of this video, I work in a job with a lot of confidential stuff. And I was trying to figure out, like, how do I obscure this in my planner? And then I started to look around more on planner Instagrams. I didn't even have my own account yet. And I figured out that people were doing kind of decorative planning that was more about their life and less about here's what I'm doing day to day. And that was like a whole new world for me. So yeah, so I dove deep into the decorative planning, and I mean, here I am. I guess it's almost 2 years later where I'm really into decorative planning, having my Instagram. I'm a year into my YouTube channel, and it's been amazing. The other hobby that I have right now, of course, is nail polish. I have always been super into nail polish. That was a thing, pretty much since I was a kid. I would get compliments on my manicures and pedicures as a kid because I always practiced doing designs, practiced getting good at painting with my left hand. When I got into kind of a little more serious nail stuff, like tips and stuff, was really pandemic. I dare say the pandemic accelerated a lot of people's hobbies, but it definitely did for mine. So I experimented with polygel during the pandemic. I had press-ons for a while, and now I'm into jelly tips. And I watch a lot of YouTube videos. Long Hair Pretty Nails is my favorite nail YouTuber, and I just kind of really, again, gotten deep into trying out different nail techniques, different nail polishes. I have stamping plates, from Maniology, from other companies. So yeah, so those are my two primary hobbies, I would say, is planning and nail stuff. But I have other hobbies like reading that I do, and fitness. And yeah, so it seems like we're coming to the end of this video. I've talked a lot, oh my goodness. I will keep answering these questions. I'll share some of the ones that I plan to answer in the episode description. If you're new, thanks so much for watching, and please consider subscribing, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks again. Bye.